Hey guys, thanks for watching my video here. Just a quick little update. I'm doing the small house living. I wouldn't call it tiny house. It's 780 square feet, 10-foot ceiling. But it's kind of turned into my man cave, but I live in here still seasonally. So everything kind of has to have a dual purpose. I didn't have a whole bunch for storage as it's all an open concept, but so with this, built this down to 8 feet. Now I have extra storage all the way around. My bed tucks into there, so then I have a dry bar. When it's bedtime, then I bring the bed down and it's my bedroom. I'll show you how the bed's made, but the legs haven't been finished as well as the ceiling. The legs need to be finished first. But it's taken me a long time to come up with a proper way to do it. I think I have a solution for it now, so I'll walk you through that. Most of it's garage door parts, because that's what I do for a living. This one, it is counterbalanced with the springs up there, as well as it has a LiftMaster motor on it. I'll show you what's going on here. So you can see this one, they're on their own motors. With the motor, I was able just to make it stop where it is, at the ceiling and at the bottom, rather than having to hold it in place. But these blocks stay here. I would like to be able to have legs that flip down automatically. But on the end here, we have this angle that comes down. That's kind of our strength piece. It's a commercial door piece that's left over. It's got a brace up here. It's a turnbuckle, so I could actually fine tune how it hangs at the end to hit the feet. Built these pieces in here with the rollers that go in here. I made this piece a little bit longer, so you can see it comes ways up here to give it some extra strength. And they're fastened into the floor, and then all the way at the top. It's a bit of a close-up of the spring. Kind of see the motor in there, and in case of emergency or whatever, for some reason it's not working for me, I can disengage it. We can just with one hand here, I can move it up and down. So the motor is not working excessively hard. It's just moving it, which is how it should be. These here are just reinforcing struts for overhead doors. I just used Merrill bolts, bolted all together. I got all of them 16 inches apart with 3/4 inch plywood on top. It's just, I don't know if you'll be able to see it in there, but there's just screws from the top into these struts holding it in place. Now, I don't have enough room in between here to get long enough legs to flip down and replace those blocks. So I'm gonna have to kind of take the frame apart, move this over a bit. This is the foot end of the bed, so it's okay if it's a bit of a farther span. And then I'll make a rod that goes across with a foot that comes down. I think I'm gonna make with bolts on the bottom of the feet that I can thread them in and out to fine tune the legs on each side. And then we'll take it from there. So you can see it's just screwed in with the screws, made them flush underneath the mattress. And I need to keep it somewhat lightweight so that it's doesn't change my balancing of the spring, as the spring was calibrated specifically for this. I just ran out to the shed and grabbed a bunch of random parts, some bearings, a couple of brackets. I'll probably end up just cutting them to make them into shims, because I don't want it pressing on the wood. I'd like the bearings to actually be mounted to this frame for supporting it. A couple of pipes, they're just 1-inch torsion bars, or torsion rods they call them, but they're hollow just to keep my weight down. I have one long one here so that it can reach all the way across. So I'm going to go ahead and start taking some measurements. The blocks are 11 3/4 inch high, so I'm going to make them a little shorter, that way I can make my adjustable bolt in the bottom for the foot. And we'll get started on that. Alright, so I didn't really have a use for this piece. This is the piece that holds these bearings in place. It kind of clamps it in there. You can see there's a little bit of a raised lip, and this is 1.25 inches, so I'm gonna have to drill my hole big enough to account for that. I made all my calculations here. I drew a line where I have room to work with to bolt stuff from the back side here. So this is the size of the shaft itself, so I'm gonna actually drill it bigger than that to get, I can go 1 3/8 inches or even bigger, because really all it has to do is catch the outside ring here to hold it in place. So it'll be on the outside, but there's enough room when the bed goes up to clear this, even if it's on the outside. And this isn't a sharp thing, so it's not like you'll be knocking your knees against it. So you can see where I got the holes marked to bolt this thing in place, as well as hold that in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the tools for this, and we'll drill it out. Before I do that, I'm gonna transfer my marks to the other side, and we can do both from there, and then from there we can start cutting pipe, and might have to run to the shed to actually hold them together for the legs. But we're coming along. Alright, my unibit or step bit was just big enough. Thought we'd have lots of room, but got it all bolted on here. I used carriage bolts. That way I could suck and flush and there's no sharp edges, nice and smooth. Did that on both sides. You can look up here. You can see it's didn't quite end up centered, but it's not quite touching. This piece turns nice and free. Same as this one. There's better lighting. There we go. So that turns, and it doesn't stick out much. Like, not even as thick as my finger as far as it's sticking out. So that works out. Won't even notice it. I'm gonna hang the blanket over there. Hardly see it. So, there we go. I have lots of metal filings all over the floor now, so I'm gonna clean this up before I track it everywhere. And then we can start fitting the bars in here. Alright, got the shaft in there. Have it just very slightly recessed so you don't feel it on each end. I'm going to put these lock collars on there at each end. This end is better light. But this is as far as I can get it on this end because I forgot to account for it. It's close. It's really close to fitting in there. So all I'm going to do, because I have a bit of a gap here, is I'm going to drill this hole. I'm going to stretch it just a little bit. So this comes down. I literally need a 1/16 of an inch of room there. And then that'll clear. So that's how I'm going to keep that shaft from sliding over when the legs are in there. I have these 12-inch pieces of pipe. So I'm going to weld them onto this piece here, like that. I weld a gusset in between, or an angle brace there. Not that there's much side force, because the other end where the wheels are is what holds everything in place and keeps from shaking. These just have to support weight. So that is how those are gonna go. And then I'll have to have a spring on this shaft to make them come down all the way. I'm gonna put a stopper that they'll hit against. so that they stay upright. And otherwise then they'll pivot up like that, which is exactly there why we'll have to move this brace over. So we're going to keep going on that. Okay, moving that over, or down I should say, worked out really well, and it's actually now in hindsight working good that I have this virtually touching. Because this is a tube, not a solid shaft, it has a little more flex in it. So with the legs being mounted here, it would cause it to push up and it would just make it kind of funny. But, so I put this in the middle because it's so close. I can pull it away, but now it takes out the flex in the shaft, so when there's pressure on the legs it'll stay, as well as I'll be able to just hook a spring onto this screw as my piece to rotate the legs down, so they always come into full lock position. And then when it goes up, whatever mechanism I come up with to pull them up will flip it up like that. So that is working well. We're gonna have to move into the shed now to weld the legs on, and then we can keep going from there. I'm also gonna have to, these lock collars have this long bolt, which there's no room to really get a wrench in there and actually tighten them properly, but set screws with an Allen key totally will work too. So I'll find some of those and replace those with a set screw. All right. Set up in my little shed here. I've got my marks on here. I'm going to flapper wheel off the coating on this pipe just so it gives a bit of weld. And so I'll do the little bit of flapper wheel here, prep, and then I'll start welding everything together. it together. No, they're not professional welds, but they will do. These are my adjustable feet I was talking about earlier on in the video, so I can fine tune it for the bed. So I made these overall a little bit shorter than they needed to be. So did both sides the same. Have not put gussets in here. I don't think it's necessary, as it's the other end of the bed that supports this. So we will go see if this all fits in there and see what it looks like. Alright, so now we're going to have to move this brace I talked about before I'll be able to squeeze this thing. But let's give it a go, see what it does. Too far, I'll just give it a try. Just in case we have to take it out. Okay, well, gotta be careful with it yet because it's all gotta be fastened, but tuck away. We got our adjustable feet here. I will show you close up in a bit. So it's really hard to get to those Allen screws, but it's not going to affect the strength or anything. So I'm going to drill a small hole here and here so I can get the Allen feet in there to tighten them. All right, there we go. These are welded on. Slide out now because I have those lock collars in. And now we can try it out, just where the feet go. We still need to make a stopper so that it can't go too far. So it goes to the same spot every time. So, as I said earlier in the video, those other blocks were 11 3/4, and those blocks sat right underneath here. So with that being said, we should be right around 11 3/4. May have to get different bolts. These ones don't have thread the whole way. They have a bit of a shoulder, so I'm at 12 inches right now. But we will see how that sits. Fix this one up to there too. All inches. So I'll move some stuff out of the way here and see how it sits. Well, that looked like it sat down actually quite well. Sturdy, even just the way they're sitting. Bounce on it really all we want. Like I say, it's the other end that keeps it in place. So would like the spring on there still, because they're not quite square. There they are. But that turned out really, really well. Because we have it in here already, I'm just going to drill new holes and I'll refasten that extra strut that's in there. So that's what I'm doing right now. All right. Now, as discussed before, we got this bolt here, which is what we're going to put our spring on to pull the legs down. And I think we might also use it to attach a cable, most likely, to lift the legs up, to tuck them out of the way. So in line with that, we're going to have to drill a hole through each one of those all the way to the end, and then we can put it up there, and that'll up there we'll have to have some kind of linkage. That's the part we'll have to figure out, so that when it gets to the top, it lifts it. So I'm going to think on that one a little bit, and we will give that a go. Straight through those struts that we had talked about after a couple days of thinking about it here. I'm going to show you how the cables work. I think I can just tie off of the cable. It moves far enough that it'll lift the legs as it goes up. I'll give you a quick look here. You see the cable, the way it runs up, and it slopes back from the track. So when it's down, it's virtually against, but when it's up, it pulls away far enough. So that's what I was measuring on the ladder, that it moves about 1.5 inches. So I'm going to just build a little lever system that comes off, so when it goes up, it'll pull 1.5 inches, and that should be enough to rotate that shaft to lift those legs. So that's what we're going to work on now. Piece that I built. I just used a piece of 3/8 rod I had kicking around, bent it to what it needed to be. It's not a high speed thing, so I just drilled out some washers and welded them to these little plates I made, and a nut on the end so I can hook my cable onto there. So we're going to fasten that on. So idea number one didn't work as well as I'd hoped. It needs a little more torque than what I had planned for, so we will come up with another plan and build something new. Okay, so I figured out a way that I could use this same bracket that I had. I just flipped it end for end, and then I welded on a roller. It's a nylon roller, so it'll still be quiet, and it'll roll on the back side of the track like that. So I'll just make a ramp at the top, so when it gets there, it'll actually flip out like that, which will pull the legs up. Hope this works. Here's that bar that I originally made. I flipped it now, fastened it into the headboard there, and it runs all the way along. The end there, and it comes along here. And this is where it rubs on the back of the track. So I just got to make a ramp at the top so it'll pull out. And when it pulls out like that, it'll also make this pull out. You get a lot more torque with a lot less resistance on the motor when it lifts it. With the cable wrapped around there, hooked onto that bolt as discussed. I got it run all the way through. And then I just have a vice grip on there for now because I don't want to crimp it yet, and then I can't move it. And we got the wheel right here. So at the top, if I make a ramp, so as it goes up, the wheel will push out, which if you watch the legs, as I push on it, flips them up. So now we gotta build a ramp. Okay, well that was actually super easy to build. All I used was a piece of angle, 2 leg bolts, screws that I could fasten into the frame, and then it nicely lined up with this all here. So that roller should just come up here now, right up the ramp, and keep going. So we will give it a go and see what it does. Springs laying around in a box. I've been playing with numerous different ones. Finally found one. A little bit of fine tuning. Might stop to do a little bit of fine tuning yet, but it does go up and down now, and the legs do retract. So short of just some minor little tweaks, it'll be good to go. They sucked all the way in.